Hello, and welcome to Season 2 of Super Pros Bros. I'm Player 2, Eli, and with me, as always, is...
Player 1, Ike. And Broster Strudel, did you know that this podcast is on YouTube, SoundCloud, and Spotify?
I did not, bro chacho. Are those the same places the people could
Like,
comment
share?
and subscribe?
I think it is.
What do you know about that?
All I know is that this ham, cheese, and jalapeno croissant is delicious and somehow perfect for breakfast. Even though it has no breakfast fixations other than being inside, like, pastry. But maybe that's enough.
I mean, ham and cheese is pretty standard attire for, like, breakfast sandwiches.
I mean, also lunch. It's also...
Sure.
I mean, effectively, like, if you blow this up, metaphorically, like, if, like, same relative ingredients is how you get, what's that? There's, like, a fancy dinner dish. Oh, what's it called? Wait, it's like a big thing of ham inside cheese, inside a pastry.
Are you thinking, like, cordon bleu?
No, I'm thinking, or I guess it's beef, but I was thinking beef Wellington.
Okay, yeah, that's
The
beef.
cordon bleu's chicken, so we were both off.
Yeah, that's the closest, because I know like some people will do like they'll put like a layer of ham with the chicken inside, basically.
Okay.
That's where my brain is like that can't be what you mean, but it's the closest I can come up with. Like,
I don't know as well as I was, but I mean, it's just kind of funny. It fits for breakfast, but it's like, I don't know. It's such an everything meal. Speaking of everything, what has all been going on in your life?
a whole hell of a lot. I say I've been still kind of sick the last week, so I've been taking it pretty easy. I'm finally getting back into like exercising and whatnot, which feels much better than just laying around. So that's nice. I'm coughing less, which is nice. I sound like I don't have tuberculosis anymore, for the most part. Yeah, and I get to enjoy another week not living alone, and then I get to spend some time living stag, because my wife is going to go back to Europe for a while.
Nice.
So that'll be interesting, but
Where's she headed to in Europe?
starting in, I think she's going to go see people in Dusseldorf.
Made some German friends, did she?
Yeah. So met somebody when we were at Colton's wedding. Luan, very cool person, and so probably use that as a kind of launching point. And I don't know exactly where she's planning to bounce around and go.
Bounce around.
A mixture of sightseeing and like kind of job, living, searching, and all sorts of shit. So no idea what's gonna come of it. It'll be interesting. So, but for the better part of like, 10 weeks or 12 weeks or something, I will be living alone.
She's gonna be over there for 3 months?
Yeah. The projected plan is like 80 days, roughly. Like 82 days, because you can't go like 90, otherwise you start like, it starts making like legal implications.
Yeah.
The whole residency thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
So right now the plan is that like, the expectation is mid-October is when she'd come back. I will probably go over on my birthday, or around my birthday, to go hang out with her for a few days, and party it up, and then come back. So
Sweet.
yeah, it should be cool. But again, I get to live stag, so it'll just be me and my pets in my apartment.
Nice. Well, for some that may be considered a prison sentence, but I know for you, you're going to thoroughly enjoy many aspects of that.
As I say, there will certainly be upside, and certainly probably some crazy making shit. Just be like, it's so quiet!
You can fix that electronically. Well, speaking of things going on in my life right now, I am prepping to go back to work in a week, which... Fuck!
Egads.
Yeah, had plenty of time off and did very little with it, the usual. Went and saw the Barbie movie last night. Have you seen the Barbie movie yet?
Nope.
Okay. It's pretty good. maybe if Eli goes and sees it, we'll do a thing about it or something. It's definitely a lot to talk about, chew on. Had an amazing moment leaving the theater though, where we parked in this sketch as shit parking structure in downtown Los Angeles, per usual. The cheap ones, aka. And as we're leaving, my friend who drove us there, we had both had something to drink at the Alamo Draft House. Highly recommend that theater if you're gonna go see something in theaters. Very fun, very good. And we're walking out, or we're walking up to the car, and it's really like the stairway is like really unsettling. It's just
Okay.
like it's dark corners, sharp turns. It's like at any moment I'm waiting for somebody to pop around and like just like fucking get us. And he put that into words as we had both had a couple beers at the movie, and he goes, "What is this, rape alley?" He takes a step and he looks to his left and goes, "Oh, hi." And I'm like, who's he talking to? And then two young, had to be 20-year-old girls with eyes the size of pancakes come walking by us. Just so amazing.
Oh god.
Yeah, that's what they thought too. It was so tremendous. I just laughed my ass off all the way back to the car. It was great. Other than that, watched your recommendation and everybody else's from the other week. Watched Puss in Boots with our editor. It was fucking amazing.
Right? There's no business being that good.
It has no business being that good. I'll say there's only one thing I'll kind of like give it, and that's like their action sequences have drastically less frames than it shows. I hope it was a stylistic choice, not a money choice.
Aren't they just animating on the 2s?
They're like animating on the 4s. Like
Dang.
so most animations you see these days are animated on the 2s. It like very few animated processes animate on the 1s. I'll do some googling during a break or something like that. I do not believe they are ever animated on the 1s really anymore. Like one of the few ones that is animated on the 1s is Akira, and it cost them a fuck ton of money when they did it back in the day. Thus why it's like a gold standard forever. But like in Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse,
It's on the 3s, right?
the whole entire like first
it's on the
chunk is on the
3s until
2s.
he accepts being Spider-Man.
No,
right?
no, no. It's on the 2s until he expects being Spider-Man, and then it goes to being on the 3s because that's when you get the most action points. And animating action is a pain in the ass. So it actually it works stylistically and it works, like economically, basically. Like it saved the money and it like made the film better. So it was very, very like well crafted, very genius. Much wow.
I'd still say like I still liked the action scenes in Puss in Boots. Like it still felt.
I
good.
liked them. It was just very noticeable. I was like, what the fuck?
I feel like that had to be a stylistic choice because there's not like one scene that stands out as being different in that regard. But
yeah, it's just that's my only kind of caveat is that it's very noticeable. It kind of pulled me out of it, and I immediately got back into it. But I was like, yo, like my eyes were like, hey, something's very different. I'm like, no fucking shit.
However, death should not be that scary. He has no business being that scary.
Oh yeah, no, it's fucking
dude, it's terrifing.
Fucking dope.
What the fuck?
The guy very correctly was cast as Pablo Escobar in the Cartel series.
Oh. Okay,
that tracks.
Fitting as fuck.
Yeah, they grabbed the right actor, I tell you. But yes, no, the death character is amazing. Tom Thumb, played by John Mulaney's terrific. They're like it's so well cast, so well directed, so well written. This is great.
Yeah,
it's a little on the nose in certain spots, but it's again animated kids movie. It gets to do that, which is why it was a genius to tell that story that way in that format. Very well done.
Yeah,
kudos DreamWorks.
I'd still say it hit like pretty good. Like it hit a fairly respectful note on adult themes while under the guise of a kids movie. Yeah,
but if this was not an animated movie and they did some of the things on the note, like the personification of death and a couple of the other like jokes and stuff like that, it's like it wouldn't have worked if it wasn't animated.
Sure.
In my opinion, but it was, so it was like perfect. Yeah, I'd give this like a 9.5 out of 10, 10 out of 10. It was terrific.
Yeah, it's it was just so good. I was so baffled.
So great.
I think my favorite fucking gimmick is the list of deaths. Just Puss doesn't need a spotter.
And he
Bang.
has like a huge stash. It's like, just like handlebars. Boom. Yeah, that's
Just-
so good.
It's just, it's like they asked a writer room, like, think of all the dumbest machismo
Yeah.
ways a dude could
They were
die.
just reading the Darwin Awards. Like, all right, well, that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. Maybe we'll do an episode breaking it down, but I don't know. We just hit that it's perfect. So
There's
maybe we
nothing.
won't.
I have so few things to genuinely critique
No
about
notes.
that film.
Yeah.
Like it really was just so good. Like, just great. Like hire those people again. They're terrific. Anyway,
Well, speaking of things that aren't so great, what we talking about this week?
things we can critique thoroughly. When you try to take cartoons and make them into live action, it's got a bad track record. Like, a real bad track record.
Well, I wonder why that is.
Well, let's talk about that. Please don't come after me, Rhett and Link.
It's not copyrighted, right? Hold on.
Public domain, yeah. Yeah. So we thought we would go into what massive pitfalls you run into trying to take animated things, be it cartoon or Japanese style anime or what have you, and turn it into some kind of live action or quote unquote live action thing a la Disney, in the modern day and age. So, would you
Without
like
fur-
to start us off on where things go wrong?
So the first one that I think of when I think of anime to IRL translations that just like was the either of the Death Note live actions, either the Japanese version or the Netflix version. And it's for one simple reason. If you have watched a 5-minute clip of Death Note, the anime, you will notice one thing that is very apparent. It's apparent in a fair amount of animes, but especially Death Note, because it's a lot of one character plotting. You follow the villain, heads up. That becomes clear in like episode 1 or 2.
Light Yagami.
Yeah. So he's talking to himself. He's, pontificating, he's plotting, he's doing all this stuff, but
Yeah.
it's in his own head. He's not like a psychopath just saying it out loud in a room, but he's not the Joker. And so he's doing it in his own head, and it's a very common trope in anime because it comes from a comic background to have thought bubbles in the comic background to tell you what the character's thinking so you can see what they're going to do in action. And then that just ported relatively early, and so it's been a constant mainstay in animation, especially of Japanese anime, to have characters, they do it a little differently so it's their thought as opposed to them talking.
Yeah, it's got like kind of an echoey sound effect to
Got
it.
an echoey sound effect. They usually do a push-in on the top of their head. Just
So
like that.
I'm glad that things have kind of gone away from that because it just always felt sort of silly. But
Yeah.
yes.
But it works. You know
Yeah.
what's going on. It tracks, and it's just part of the framework. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the uncle that is always going to bring up the fact that he got, a Purple Heart for opening a Schlitz can in Nom wrong. And he goes, it counts! You're just like grown, but, that's Uncle Roger, whatever. In anime, it's the same way, and it's fine. It's been established. It's been going on for a long time. It just works.
Yeah.
And then when you try to do it in real life, you're like, what the campy fuck is happening? And I think in the Japanese version, they tried to do it, and it sucked. And then the American version, they didn't do it, and you can't have the show without it. Because the show needs that, because 80% of the dialogue... It's the context, and 80% of the dialogue in the whole fucking show is L talking to himself. And being like... Because he knows he's being chased by cops at a certain point, figures it out. And he's like, okay, well, how do... And it's like a cat and mouse game. There's literally one of the best scenes in the whole entire anime, as far as I'm concerned, is they play a game of tennis. And they're trying to suss out who each other are. One of them is the detective that has been sent, that is infiltrating, like, Light. And trying to figure out what he's about and make sure it's him. And the other guy's pretty sure that this kid is not a kid. And he is correct. But they're playing a game of tennis not to win, but to like kind of figure suss each other, who each other are out. That was a garbled sentence. I apologize, but it's so awesome because it's this cat and mouse game of why they're making decisions, and it's brilliant on a strategic level, and it's being brought to story form. Big fan. It's meshing my two worlds. Love it. You can't do that in a live action movie. It's just gonna be hokey as fuck. The slowdowns of them hitting the ball, the travel time, them talking in their head the whole entire time of what they can and can't do for what reasons. It would look so weird.
Yeah.
But it needs to be there too. It's not like you can be like, well, we'll do something. Like, fucking how? Like, unless you do like a like a la like noir or like heist movie, like the kind of talk through, and then you do it for both sides. Like before, it just doesn't make any sense. Like there's been no framework for it, and so you're very much going to, unseen territories before that are probably just fucked.
Yeah.
Quick, take the reins before I ramble more.
Sure. It's one of the things that's hard to also do is action. Like there's I mean, I'm also going to say this, that there's plenty of live action that fuck up their own just standard live action fight scenes. Let's be clear. It's a hard art to get right. It is made exponentially harder when you're trying to do over the top shit with people that are not intrinsically over the top. An easy example of that is Ghost in the Shell. The like what was it, 2018 live action, 2019 live action one?
Somewhere about.
With Scarlett Johansson. ScarJo. Which I don't love the casting for Kusanagi, but we'll roll with it, whatever. But for me, one of the best scenes and like that I remember watching in the old, like the 92, 94 cartoon was when she tries to rip apart a fucking spider tank.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Also, they fuck that scene up in the movie. It makes me sad. Because in the show, she rips her own arms off trying to tear it open. And like there's an expectation, and you do not expect a cartoon person to do real things. Like, it doesn't stand out as awkward when people throw boulders, throw cars, do any of that shit. It's like, you're not surprised to see Goku smash a meteor, right? Like, nobody at any point is like, well, that's just unrealistic. Like, nobody thinks that. That's not your first thought.
No.
And so it's the same kind of thing. Like, when you see Kusanagi just take people and just fucking throw them through a window, it feels normal. Like,
it's kind of like the the physics in anime track.
Yes, it feels. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel wacky. And like you can kind of get away with some of it with like superhero movies is an easy example. Like where you just fucking smack people in the next week. It's hard to straddle that line when you try to make someone feel too human or like they want to be human, and then have them doing crazy shit like that. And what really made it uncomfortable for me is the scene where she is fighting the spider tank, because it's like, I know who that actress is, and then you see like all the machine whirring around as she's trying to tear the fucking tank apart. It's like, this is not right. It feels wrong. Like there's just this kind of odd bridge you have to get over. And I think part of it too is like an audience bias, but it's hard to get over that hump. Like, especially if it's something you've seen somewhere else. Like it's really hard to parse that together.
Yeah. So next up we have one of the other issues that anime is anime and it's cartoonish as fuck. So one of the best parts about anime, in my estimation, I don't know about you, Broshkinkowski, is that it is reminiscent of our worlds. You know, it tries to mirror it in certain ways, but by and large, it's
Yeah.
its own place. It's its own, you know, it's its
Yeah.
own world.
It's its own place. It's got its own rules. It's got its own
Exactly.
geography.
It's got its own rules, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can have, you know, fairies. You can have people with, you know, rubber arms. In the case of One Piece,
Yeah.
you can do all these things, and they're not out of place in their world. But so much of the time, when people try to make live action, they they don't bring like live action to their world. They bring their world into our live action world, or like their animation into our live action world, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So much of it feels like, oh, they're putting this on Earth. And it always looks to me just fucking hokey as fuck when there are moments that they're going to try to elicit me to, you know, get real with it. Like, I'm going to at some point need to care. I'm at some point going to need to believe in stakes. And how the fuck can I when I'm just like the whole entire time just being like, this looks like I'm tripping balls. Like, how the fuck am I supposed to give a shit and ever let this shit go? In anime, of course it looks like it's tripping balls. It's an animated universe. It's like, it's right for what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you went, you know, if you played dodgeball with some friends in like grade school and you hit a kid, like if you threw the ball really hard at his knee, you'd be an asshole. They'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you? We're playing dodgeball. If you did that in the pro league, you'd be like Michael Jordan. They'd be like, oh, there he goes again, the knee cracker himself, you know, Eli Sears, fucking dusting him. It's like, you would be an all-star. Maybe a bit edgy, but you'd be an all-star. And the same kind of thing applies to this. You can't take, you know, if you look at the cast of One Piece and then go, oh yeah, the real world, you're like, what is this, a fucking circus? Are you fucking kidding? Like, some of these characters, there is a literal character that is a clown pirate and is nearly criminally insane, and I'm supposed to take him seriously? Fuck you for me. Like, come on. What, but like, where's the fucking like board meeting episode of that where they're like, oh yeah, so there's a clown character and he's a good guy, but he's insane, but we're supposed to like him. I'm sorry, did you huff glue? That's not gonna work. It's just intrinsically not gonna work, except for fans and people on crystal meth. Nobody else is going to be like, like everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, and like change channels, click out of it, or, you know, mock you incessantly. But, you know, if that's what you're about.
There are absolutely things you can get away with being, it just being like, this clearly isn't real. Let's go. Like, you could never do a live action Rick and Morty. That shit ain't happening.
No.
Like,
Just the portal alone would look like fucking whack shit.
it'd be whack as shit. All the aliens would look whack as shit, and it'd be so hard to disentangle. You'd be like, oh right, this is an abusive grandfather who's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Right.
Hilarious.
Oh, call CPS.
Yeah.
Like, there is a kind of, you suspend a lot of stipulations and requirements with it being animated, just on principle, for sure. But speaking of things that are being suspended, some things don't mesh right either, in the sense that they look wrong. They look bad. We couldn't do this and not talk about Avatar, but this time the bad one.
Wait, it does exist? I thought it was a made up story to haunt children.
I'm embracing the fever dream. Lord keep me strong. That's all I can say for this one. One of the best things about Avatar is its bonkers fucking display. Like, its magic system. It's fucking magic. Let's not pretend.
Yeah. They're wizards, Harry.
Yeah, we're fucking we're elemental wizards, which I'm here for it. Down for it. Down to clown. But like, man, that did not translate well. Like, there's so many things you can do on such a grandiose scale in animation that, again, it doesn't feel batshit. Like, so especially scenes where Aang's in the Avatar state, it looks so cool, but it's so hard to make that work on a live action kind of scaling. Like, it's and trying to preserve a sense of like the reality is that 99% of the people in Avatar are dead. Like, the amount of kinetic force that they're just taken to the jaw, they're dead. Their organs are pulp. Their skulls are fucking flattened. Like, every person that Toph just hits with a rock, they need a body bag.
Yeah.
Like, they're dead. Every person Katara just fucking bitch slaps like a fire hydrant, dead. Like, like everyone's dead.
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
Everybody that Zuko is attacking probably should see a medic, or
yeah, like third-degree burns. They're scarred for life at best.
Everybody's looking like Zuko after Zuko's done with them.
Yeah, exactly. Like, every person Aang just fucking throws around with airbending, wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like,
Everyone into a wall that's made of rock. Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah,
Fuck
like,
you.
yeah. Like, Sokka has died so many times over on accident. Like, a poor bastard's just collateral. But you don't care. Like, you can get away with wacky physics. You can have, like, these bruises the size of a fucking melon on someone's head for comedic effect, and that's funny. But, like, but if you try to instill any kind of realism in that magic, in that action, holy shit, no, it looks terrible. Like,
Yeah.
they do these katas to throw a cinder block at someone. It's like, just pick it up and throw it at him. Like, at that point, it would be faster, probably more efficient, and it might have more oomph behind it.
It would look, I tell you one thing, it definitely look a lot more cinematic.
Yeah, like at a certain point, just have a dude spin and throw it like he's shot putting. Like, that would look more interesting than you doing these Tai Chi katas to chuck a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Like, it's awful. And it could have been done better, but I think even no matter how well you do it, it's going to be really hard to make it look appropriate to the source material. That's just such a it's such a burden of entry.
I think, and that's like kind of where we're getting one of the things that we're going to become
or the common through lines of these.
Yeah, it's just you're trying to mimic something that has no laws to abide by, and then you put it in a world where people have preconceptions of laws that you have to abide by.
Yes,
and so you are cut. I think you are like trying to shoot the tiniest of gaps. I don't think it's impossible, but I do think it's a fool's errand.
It's very hard.
You have to be loyal to the source material lest you get flamed by the fans, and you have to be reasonable to the eyeballs if you want to get new viewers and still not piss off some of the fans, because it's gonna like not look right, and the cartoon did, because it's a fucking cartoon.
Yeah. Like, and that isn't to say there aren't terrible looking cartoons. Those do exist, but you know, it's when you're starting against something, essentially, it's way easier to look wrong.
Yeah. And it's not really fair. I think, like, one of the things, some of these cartoons look like they're fucking cartoons. You know? For really, like, if you watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it doesn't look like it's supposed to be serious. It has somehow a serious overtones at moments, which is wild. But it looks like a fever dream. It looks like you're on, like, a meth high. You're just like, what the fuck? But you're there for it. So you can't be honest to the source material without having looking that way. And so many people, that's going to be too big a barrier for entry to get invested.
Yeah.
Catch a bunch of 22s.
Yeah, it's hard.
So on the kind of similar wavelength, our next kind of gripe is the loss of whimsy that you feel in so many of these new Disney live action films. So much of the source material that they're coming from, again, they're for a lot of them they're trying to make them, you know, apples to apples with their original source material. Again, bit of a fool's errand. That being said, since they are Disney animation, like Beauty and the Beast, I didn't like it because it was a cash grab, but they did a fine job at it because they were going shot for shot. It's based on real people. The talking wardrobes is where you start getting a lot funky, but you know, it does kind of work, but still it has like visual issues.
Yeah.
But the vibes, especially with the other ones, like fucking Lion King or Mulan, the vibes are just astronomically different. And so much of a good G-rated cartoon movie, especially from like the 90s, it's about vibes.
It's the feel good.
Yeah. You
Like-
want it to be lighthearted, even in the dire moment. Like, it's The Lion King. You have dark moments, but a lot of it's light. A lot of it's childhood, a lot of it's adolescence, a lot of it's, you know, it's Hakuna Matata.
Even when Shere Khan is like trying to eat Baloo, they say, "Hey, let go of the tail." He goes, "No, there it is, teeth on it." He's still cracking
there's
jokes.
Teeth at the other end. Yeah, like there's still room for comedy because it's a cartoon. And you can't have that in IRL without having a tonal rift.
Yeah.
And or you have to accept that it's going to be a lot lighthearted and not have high stakes. Either way, you lose out on a very important aspect of it just on its nature of being live action. And I don't think it's any more noticeable than like Mulan has a bunch of problems, but tonal is definitely one of them. And then Lion King, they're trying to do Nolan Batman shit for a kids movie. Inherently not a great starting point.
No. Like, yeah, I don't think I have anything to really add to that. It's just, it's wrong. Like, it's just so fundamentally incorrect with the established work and the what it's meant to be. Like, I think especially like Lion King, Jungle Book, and I also pulled Jungle Book when we were talking about Lion King, it was my bad. Like, they're meant to be kind of goofy.
Yeah.
And they just, like you said, it's a movie made for kids. You're not looking for dark overdose. Like, Batman kind of worked in that regard because Batman's meant to be a comic, like especially a lot of newer Batman, it's made to be more for adults, and it comes inherently with mature themes to it. Like,
yeah, this is like the only time that Batman was truly like hokey was like Adam West 1960s.
yeah, like,
After that, it was still like the cartoon. Holy
yeah,
fuck.
cartoon is dark as fuck.
Literally.
Like,
It's all in grayscale.
yeah, it's all in grayscale. Like, it's got so much adult theme put into it. It's got so much, like, it's got cornucopia of tragedy and abuse put into it. Like, just casually fucking thrown in there. Like, Jungle Book does not. Lion King maybe sort of does at times, but I mean, it's a coming of age story where most of it, the first half of it, is incredibly lighthearted. Anyway,
Before we get too far down this rabbit hole, what you got next on the old veranda?
the really hard thing, and this comes about like adaptations in general, but it's exacerbated by changing your visual medium, is that it's really hard to keep character integrity. And I can't think of a better, more recent example than the Netflix Cowboy Bebop. They did my boy Spike Spiegel real dirty. Real dirty. Oh, it hurts.
He's not a hippy dippy Bruce Lee type anymore.
No. Now he's like obnoxiously serious and constantly glowering and like.
Oh, no, you're talking about Jet.
No. I wish I was. I know. Like, also, the fucking Jesus, talking about Jet and the dumb black joke. Oy.
Which one?
I have to look it up again. It just hurt. It's like this bad attempt at being flirty.
Yeah, it goes from flirty to racist real fast.
It's just like, oy, like, I don't care. Listen, I don't really give a shit that Jet is black, but don't do that shit. Like, if you wanna fuck with people's race for character, for, like including actors and diversity, whatever, I don't give a fuck. But like, don't do that. That's a completely separate topic, but also an insult to injury. But like,
Is this blackmail? Well, you're black
oh yeah,
and you're male.
there it is. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, it's anyway, but Spike is just wrong. Like I mean, the first episode, one of the first things you see him do is like bump into somebody and steal a hot dog and shove it all in his mouth. He shoves the entire thing like
hungry.
sideways in his cheek. Yeah, like a fucking squirrel with a bunch of acorns. Like he's ridiculous, and so a lot of how they have him fight is like they kind of emblematic the Bruce Lee style of fluidity, exacerbated by the fact he's animated. Like those two things alone are so hard to do as a person. Like that's a tall ask, anyways.
Yeah.
But when you take him and you make him no longer this lighthearted kind of funny guy, it's wrong. It's no longer just a hard bar to set. It's now wrong. You can ostensibly be Spike Spiegel in terms of mannerism and canter, and just not be able to nail the action. Like, that would be one thing. But not nailing the action and not being the character, who the fuck are you and why are you on my screen? Like, if you're gonna just miss both parts, how the fuck am I watching you?
Yeah, like what part of that character is that character anymore?
Yeah, like, you aren't what I came here to see.
Yep.
So, no. Get off my screen. Black and male. Oh, Jesus.
Well, to take it away, to change the subject is to not incur your wrath. One of the other big issues I've noticed and have had with anime to IRL translations is the tonal delivery. Again, like we're talking about, you can be in animation, especially Japanese anime, you can be so over the top.
Yes.
And it just works. Again, it's been set. Shown in anime has been like, yeah, they blow up planets, they fucking scream for 30 minutes. Like, it's a thing, it's fine. You know, we just accepted it at a certain point, and it is what it is.
There's also just a lot of casual, huh? Like that you get. Yeah. Just kind of sounds that people make. It's like, who does that in real life?
Sounds, faces. Yeah, we got the whole gamut.
Yeah.
And then when you try to do that in live action, it looks, again, you lose credibility. You break the mise en scène. You, like, take people out of the medium because it's live action.
Yeah.
You know, if it was a cartoon sketch, if it was like SNL or something like that, they'd kind of be there for it. But they're trying to buy into this narrative, this story, this moment, and they're now, if you try to be authentic to the source material, they get pulled out of it. If you're not, it's not the source material anymore. What the fuck are you doing? Thus, the probably don't do this thing, you know, fool's errand kind of stuff. And one of the biggest ways I see this is in tonal delivery. In Death Note, again, supervillain, he has these grandstanding moments where, again, talking in his head, and the way he's talking sounds just like hokey as shit. But in the anime, don't know how, don't know why, it just works. He's basically comparing himself to God, and, you know, I am, like, the ruler, and blah, 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 blah. And it just, like, if you read it in, like, if you turned off, if you close your eyes and watch it, you can tell it's a cartoon. Because it just sounds like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And then if you open your eyes and saw a real person doing it, you'd be like, what the fuck? It's like, no. People don't do that if they want to be serious. And in the anime, he's dead serious. And you believe he's serious. It's a little hokey, but it's a lot scary.
The only way you get away with that kind of shit is if you establish that a character is cuckoo bananas crazy.
Yeah.
Like...
Which, as much as I love fucking with Light, he's not technically crazy.
No, he's not crazy at all. He's very logical. He's very smart. He's not bonkers.
He's just a villain.
Just a megalomaniac.
Yeah.
Like
he's just
not
evil, that's all.
Yeah, he's just evil as shit and a megalomaniac. He's grandstanding because he believes he's that intelligent. But he's not like, I'm a cantaloupe. Like, he's not fucking crazy. He's not deluded or delusional. He says these things because he can do them.
I mean, there's literally a scene, if I remember it correctly, where he's, again, in his head, talking about eating a potato chip with the most grandeur as if he is saving the planet from extinction. Grab a potato chip and eat it! And you're just like, dude, I'm fucking here for this. But they try to do it IRL, and you're just like, I'm sorry, who died on the keyboard and gave me this mess? Are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it? Bruh. You can't.
It doesn't work.
I just rewatched the scene in like both versions. I'm like, you change. Oh. Sorry, aneurysm averted. All right, before any other mental problems happen to me today, let's go on to the next topic.
The last one we're gonna hit on is the idea of the uncanny valley. Shit just
Look wrong.
it's just wrong. And
Something
I
wrong
realized
with that
that we've hit a bunch of things that are just they're not right. And this is a very specific one that like faces aren't right. Very specifically, it looks incorrect. Not like it looks hokey. Not it looks like you're doing a bad job portraying. Like no. Like this. I look at this and my brain goes,
It's the
wrong. Burn it.
It's the conniption fit mixed with the looking at a 3D poster face, just like the hey. You're just like
It's
face turned sideways, eyeballs twitching, eyebrow won't quite stay in place.
it's like when you're looking at mannequins that try to be too lifelike but are not. It's like no. Wrong.
That thing better not swivel and look at me.
Yeah, like this is something out of a horror movie very quickly. Like no, stop. Like
Low res, uncanny valley TikTok horror film.
yeah, like and I mean there's certain things that are clearly trying to tap into that. Like very recently there's been kind of a trend in terms of analog horror that has leaned very much into the idea of like uncanny valley. Like the Mandela Catalog is an easy one I can think of that it fucks with that and it's really cool, but it's very deliberate. It's very clear, like it talks. They're using like body doubles and shit like that to fuck with that idea, and clearly distorting images to tinker with the uncanny valley kind of principle.
Yeah.
Which
But didn't they? Isn't that kind of like also up there with Five Nights at Freddy's, which is coming out? Like
no,
isn't
Five Nights at Freddy's is about animatronics.
no, I know, but like the degree of the interspliced horror with child friendliness of the animatronic, it kind of gives me that like Chuck E. Cheese on.
Oh yeah, no,
Crystal.
absolutely. It's like a weaponized Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. But like it kind of, because of that, at least in my brain, it kind of, I kind of get that kind of whiplash. But I mean, again,
Sure.
horror, it works. It's freaking me out, and it's meant to in that direction.
It's deliberate. It's a perversion of something you expect. This is not that. This is just I know what it should look like, and this is what you're trying to emulate, and it does not work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which version of which problematic anime is your favorite?
Oh, we're talking. I gotta do Parasite. Oh, I like
With
Parasite.
that eyeball sticker.
I really like Parasite the Maxim. I enjoy it. There's parts that
great.
are piss poor paced, but overall I enjoyed it. If for no other reason, watching Gateau wreck buildings of people is entertaining as fuck. They made a baller final boss of the show. Like Gateau is so cool. Anyway, but it trying to take that and make people's heads split apart like that is just wonky. That's a hard ask, like, because I know what a human face is supposed to look like, and a big part of it is just fucking with that. And it's really hard to do right. The worst offender, surprisingly, is not the human heads splitting apart. It's the fucking hand. It's Migi.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's like looking at AI trying to draw hands. It ain't right.
That hand ain't right.
Yeah, like, it's so wrong. And what adds kind of a hilarious level of incorrectness too is that, like, in every death scene, there's like It's very scant on blood. A
What?
Yes, like there is not as much blood as you expect there to be.
Come on, that's
Like
the easiest part of IRL. Like Quentin Tarantino showed us years ago. Just fucking spray cans.
yeah,
Like,
like the first scene, like the opening scene where the head splits open and just chomps somebody. There's no blood. There's no like bloody like paint can as her like head gets compressed. No, there's nothing. It's clean. It's weird. And like every person that gets cut in half doesn't bleed everywhere. It's just like super clean. It's really weird. Which does not help.
See, all parasites have a suction hose
Yeah,
that keeps the blood from escaping, obviously.
The fucking like dentist tools to help. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's I don't. It's this bizarre kind of intangible thing where it's like that is incorrect, and it just looks wrong. It is inhuman. It is inauthentic. It's fucking wrong. Get it the fuck away from me. Like, it's just backwards. And it's supposed like they're supposed to be menacing and cool, and I'm just unsettled.
Yeah,
But I'm not threatened.
Yeah.
Like, it looks too clean. It looks too.
Yeah, you want to look away. You don't want to run away.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, because in the anime, in the manga, they're made of like muscle and bone and shit, recomposed. Because it's using your head, so it's like skin, muscle, bone, and tissue, recomposed in like this kind of red amalgamate shit, right? That it can harden its edge into metal, essentially. But in this, it's like this clean skin tone thing that kind of flops about. It's like
It go flippy flappy.
yeah, it's just too clean. It's weird. Like, it doesn't have the grit. It doesn't have the kind of grime of animation to it. It doesn't have the hard lines to it. It's like too smooth. It's just it's wrong. I'm rambling. Help.
All right. So my entry into this category, because this one was the initial kind of starting off point, was Attack on Titan. Oh boy. So we are both lovers of Attack on Titan, big fans.
Attack on Titan is great.
Super dope. And there's a lot. I understand why they thought they could do this anime IRL. It was super popular, already a good starting point. So we're going to get people to cash in. It's set in a feudal world. Cool. We've got the tech for that. It's got mechy shit. Okay, we can do zipliney stuff. Got it. It's a sign in anime, so we get to be super serious all the time. There's basically no hilarity to it. Cool. We don't have to do that weird bridge gapping. It's shot very much without any like weird faces or affectations. It's super serious all the time. Cool. Awesome. But then there's the Titans, which in the anime, a lot of them look like they were just meme faces put on gigantic sludgesicles. They are just these like troglodyte 80-foot tall, like hungry for human things.
Yeah. They're just bizarre. Like they really are, and their movement is kind of hokey, and they're just a bit bonkers. Which again, animated works.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's nothing more to really say there. Again, the thing that makes this show great is in the cartoon world, seeing something like that is off-putting because it's bad. There's certain affectations in it. Yeah,
it's gonna eat you.
Yeah, it's evil, but again, in a cartoon world, you kind of buy into it. There's suspension of disbelief, and you're kind of like, holy shit, that's a problem. I would be scared of that too. If something in my world looked to me like that does to them in their world, and again, that's the big thing, is in their world, that is freaky, off-putting, scary bad.
Yeah.
And in the IRL live action one, it just isn't the same because they're doing shot for shot. They're not like kind of bridging the gap of, okay, what would that look like in our world? What would something, what is the stand-in equivalency for this. And so you make something that just makes the audience go, "What the fuck?" You don't. They're not terrified for the characters anymore. They're just like, "Is that real? Am I tripping balls? What was in this pizza?" Like they don't have the concern for the characters that you do watching the anime because of the circumstance in which this facade is being presented to you.
Yeah,
And that's the kind of big issue.
It is distracting and takes away from the immersion of the story.
Yeah.
It is wrong in a way that its art looks incohesive. There we go. That's the best way I can fucking describe this.
Nailed it. Good job. 10 out of 10. Don't watch Attack on Titan or Parasite ever again.
Yeah. All of these, avoid. Like, just
Run!
just watch the source material. Just do yourself a solid.
Pay homage to where it belongs.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to pay our bills by going to this totally real ad break. See you in a bit.
Do you wish that you could engage in reckless acts of wanton violence? Do you wish that you had the confidence and constitution of a Navy SEAL? Do you wish that criminal liability was wildly subjective? If any of those ring true, action movies might just be for you. With plenty of morally questionable motives and plots that sacrifice substance for style and explosions, action movies appeal to those basal urges that make us want to make things go boom. So what are you waiting for, killer? The day isn't gonna save itself.
Hey! We're back! Thank you for holding your breath, Eli.
Oh, I thought I was gonna die.
That's what happens when you guys take a pause and go get a salad and then come back and then press play. Eli has to hold his breath the whole entire time. Think about that.
My lungs.
Well, while you are recuperating, do you mind if I share with you my pitch to week?
Go for it.
So I was having this jovilant chant with with some homies the other day after some magical games, and we started riffing about stories in the Bible, specifically Jesus stuff, and what if we made Jesus parody parables, or working title, but just kind of taking some of the stuff in the Bible and really fucking with it. Not in a like out of context sort of way, but like, what if they meant this, interpretations, yada yada. One of my favorite ones that I've thought of is, you know, everyone knows the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000. He shows up, there's like a couple of, you know, there's like a loaf of bread and a couple fish, and he passes around and everybody's full. What if the fish was just bad and the bread wasn't like what people wanted? And he passed it around and everybody's like, I'm good. And it comes back and like there's only 2 bites. Somebody goes, fed them all. Got him. And we're like, oh, yeah, just like, everyone's just like, Jesus, this guy really doesn't know how to fish for shit. Like, what if we started doing stuff like that? Or so there's the story in, is it Genesis? I think it's Genesis, with Sodom and Gomorrah, where I think it's Lot is living in Sodom or something like that.
Yes.
A couple angels visit him, and then after, like, during the visit, the whole entire neighborhood shows up and goes, yo, we want to fuck your guests. And he goes, no, have my daughters instead, which, that's a sentence. And, like, tries to, like, give his daughters to the group. They say, fuck that, we've probably had them already. And the angels blind him and they dip out of town before it's, like, you know, turned into Baghdad. So, a little bit of side note that makes this extra hilarious, and where I'm going to go with a spin on this one. In the Old Testament, they occasionally describe angels, and holy fucking horror movie, Batman.
Oh, they're
These
nuts.
things, terrifying. Multiple arms, multiple wings, like a zillion eyes. It's just like, they don't look human. First, let's start there.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, people with wings. Fuck no. There are these not so crazy things, which cool, but in Western media we always think of them as, you know, Obi-Wan Kenobi with, you know, an angel lift or something. I don't know. It's like it's fucking like really plain. It's like, nah, it was wild. And so like if you took that, did that, and like I'm the way I initially interpreted this and made our dad spit out his coffee one afternoon is like, what if Lot's neighbors wanted to fuck the angels because they'd fucked everything else? Because notoriously Sodom and Gomorrah, they kind of, I mean, sodomy, that's where that comes from, for the record.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're like, look, we've fucked every plant, tree, goat, and person in this valley. That shit be looking fresh, son. And they were just like, I need my dick to go in all those eyeballs. They were just like, oh, just horny to the max. Like that's what I'm hoping for, and I think would make a great dark comedic bit. But that kind of thing is what is a recent idea that came across my landscape.
Yeah. Also here, for case in point, angels ain't fucking human looking. Book of Ezekiel, a cherub is described as having 2 pairs of wings, 4 faces, one of a lion, an ox, a human, and an eagle. Yeah, he's 4 faces, 4 wings. What the fuck? Like, angels are fucking crazy looking. So
That's a cherub, though. That's not an angel, right?
it's a cherub. I mean, cherubim and seraphim are the angels that are referenced.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking of seraphim. That's just all eyeballs, I think.
Seraphim are the ones with 6 wings.
Yeah, 6 wings. I think they are just like eyes, though. I think their head is just like eyeball city. Either which way, fucking crazy looking. Not human by a lot. Nobody's looking at that and going, oh yeah, look, a dude with wings. No, they're looking at, holy fuck, what's that thing?
Yeah, it's a question of, what did I take?
It looks at Bull. What's in here exactly?
Yeah, like, what are you feeding me?
Well, what are you feeding us in the idea category of this week, bro?
So my thought is about an estate sale, which is basically when you're selling off everything after somebody has died. And what I thought would be an interesting kind of twist on it is if someone came back from the dead after everything they'd owned had been sold off.
They wake up on the slab like, what the fuck?
They pretty much, they come back to, there's been a delay in the corners. They died on a holiday weekend,
Yeah.
They're just fucking sitting there. They've been autopsied. They got a big fucking Y carved into their chest. And then they come back too, for reasons. Magic. Who knows? And you get to follow them trying to figure out, A, how do they cobble enough money to get their shit back, and B, what if their shit is actually worth getting back, and tracking down who has their things at this point, and the inevitable fallout that comes with their family when they go, why'd you sell my shit? I wasn't dead. Clearly, obviously, what's wrong with you? And an interesting dive into what's actually important to people, and what retains value if you were to come back and go, I actually really want to keep this.
Mm-hmm. Like what lengths you'd go for a knickknack.
Yeah, what lengths you'd go for a knickknack, what knickknacks are still really important, where does sentimental value overweigh, practical value, things like that. So.
Hell yeah, love this one. This has got a lot of good resonance to it, bro.
Thank you. So what have you got to recommend for people as we start wrapping things up here?
So the other day, watched the first episode of Hit Monkey with our editor, Richard Ashford, and, not that. The first, and maybe it gets better. To be fair, only did watch the first episode, but I watched the whole damn thing, and it is so needlessly long, and so needlessly character-driven on, I'm going to save you some time. The character that you follow for the whole entire first episode, basically, dies at the end, after they've had some character revelations and some moments. It's just that fucking like Suicide Squad bait and switch bullshit all over again. I don't care about learning about dead guys. Stop it. It doesn't do anything. All you're doing is wasting our time. It's so bad. I am not a fan.
I think he basically comes back as a ghost.
He does, but also he's not the main. It's fucking weird, and just like I
Okay.
don't. Yes, he does. I found that out later. I was like looking at some more stuff about it, but it's like it could have been done faster. The main character is the monkey, but we spend all of the first episode dealing with this fucking schmaltzy d bag of an assassin, and it's just like I don't. They could have. I could cut 10 minutes off this without breaking a sweat, and you wouldn't know the difference.
Sorry, did you use the word schmaltzy?
Yes.
Is that a word?
Yes. It's like I think it's the kind of like Yiddish equivalent of hamming it up. At me if I'm wrong, don't care. So not Hitmonkey. Don't think it's worth your time. If that first episode's like any of the other ones, not here for it. It's just holy crap. It's awkward, drawn out nonsense. I don't care.
It's like insincerely emotional. So it's like kind of hokey, kitschy,
Eh,
mushy, sappy. Interesting.
I'm gonna pretend like that still plays. I don't know if it did or not.
Yeah.
Moving on. What I would recommend if you want something irreverent, like Hitmonkey's trying to be irreverent and trying to be reverent at the same time, which is like kind of part of the issue I have with it. Maybe it gets better. I don't know. Not gonna fucking find out. They burnt me on the first episode. I'm fucking done. Don't care. On the flip side, Axe Cop had me from the first frame. So for those of you that don't know, Axe Cop was a comedy series. I think it was on FX. It was around for 2 seasons. You can still find it if you look on non-legit websites, because no legit website carries it. So fuck them. Or you have to buy it. You can't like rent. I don't know. It's fucking hard to obtain. So just watch it on free websites. Illegal recommendations. You get them here. So 2 seasons. The show was pitched to a producer by his 5-year-old son, who they then had a ghostwriter come in and write down his ideas. I think for the run of the show. And it is amazing. You ever heard a 5-year-old explain an action scene? Oh yeah. Now imagine a Hollywood producer punching it up. Oh yeah. It's like doing crack cocaine in like on Sesame Street or something like that. It is all kinds of absurd, crazy awesomeness.
It's voiced by Nick Offerman.
Oh, it's voiced by they got bangers. Like the actors they got are good, are quite decent. The animation strong, the writing hilariously stupid. It doesn't stop at B movie territory. It goes all the way down to Z, baby. It is whack as fuck. It is exactly what you want out of something that isn't good. It's so bad it's great. Cannot recommend Axe Cop high enough.
Sorry, I'm just looking at stills of this. He's got like 5 colossal axes around his office.
All right, here's the better
What?
ones. Axe Cop's sidekick, Flute Cop. First episode, they go take a horn to summon dinosaurs to go into a demon's brain while on the moon so that the dinosaurs will eat his brain. Yeah. Just
Sure.
said all those words.
Sure. Why not? Why wouldn't it? Holy fuck.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Just trust me, if it's like it's crack, it's dope. Wreck it. What about you, bro? What you reckon? This
So
week?
I really haven't watched anything new to think of to recommend, but I have been playing something new. I have been playing the game Remnant 2 with a couple buddies. We've been playing it on hard as dick difficulty, which has actually been a shit ton of fun. But it is very enjoyable. It's quick description. It's kind of an ARPG shooter, or an RPG shooter. It's very... There's a lot of sci-fi bullshit that just kind of happens, so plot happens. I'm admittedly a bit disoriented because they just throw so many nonsense sci-fi words at you. I'm like, okay. But it is a lot of fun. I've been playing a pack leader, a handler, so I have a dog. The dog is OP as fuck. Dude, he taunts. It's amazing. Like
Dude, he taunts.
he
It's
taunts.
amazing.
It's amazing. He literally just goes "Brr," and like shit has to hit him. It's so helpful. He holds bosses for us. It's so good. Yeah, it's fun. The gameplay is pretty smooth. The game looks fucking gorgeous because it turns out the Unreal Engine 5 is crazy. Yeah, if you've got like a buddy and want to throw money at it, I would actually recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Sweet. Well, perhaps when you are playing Remnant 2 after you've watched Axe Cop, you want to power up by listening to Boss Bitch by Doja Cat. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Doja Cat. She's fine. Not really my scene. Nothing against her. Whatever.
Especially, she's been kind of ripping on her own fans recently,
Yeah,
which is weird.
That's interesting. I kind of fuck with it and respect it, but also it seems foolhardy, but whatever. I'm not a famous celebrity with people up my
Sure.
shit constantly, so I have no point of reference. However, if you want to get pumped up, perhaps to whoop ass in Remnant 2, or come out of the bananas malaise of Axe Cop, Boss Bitch by Doja Cat will do it. That shit will get you ready for whatever you need to get ready for. Song slaps in every direction, gets me pumping, jumping, grooving, bootin', doobin'. Those last ones weren't words. Doesn't matter. Boss Bitch by Doja Cat. Get on it.
All right. And with that, that is going to be our episode. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe.
but don't forget, new episodes of Super Pros Bros come out the first and third Saturday of every month. Thank you.
Bye.